Hi, I'm McNicol, really happy to be here in the Room of Dreams at the North American Guitar in London to film another series of tuition videos for TNAG techniques. I have picked a few more of my compositions to break down and go through with you all, starting with this waltz of mine called the Nightwatchman. So right from the word go in this piece, the first string melody is the primary focus, and one technique that I like using is rolling between bass note and melody note to shine a spotlight onto the melody. So instead of playing like this, I'm slightly separating the bass and the melody, more like this. That allows you to give more volume to the ring finger as you're playing, just so that the melody really shines through. Another thing to work on would be just adding a subtle amount of staccato to beat 2 to emphasize the waltz rhythm. So again, you could play like this, or just by bringing your index and middle fingers back onto the strings, you can just mute them slightly and just add a little bit of that staccato to emphasize the waltz, more like this. A little bit like that. As you go through bars 1 to 12, a couple of the chord changes are worth discussing. So as you move from bars 4 to 5, you're moving from a full bar into a half bar, and if you look at this, as you make that transition, your little finger and third finger can come down first, and then you can bring the half bar down. I find that makes that a much smoother transition. And then next into bar 9, we find this D major 7 chord voicing here. And again, you need to kind of be wary of how your little finger can get round onto the 5th string. And, you know, this elbow on your left arm, you should feel it coming into the body so that the little finger can really reach over and make that transition as easy as possible. Another little word of warning: whenever you're practicing a section which involves a lot of bar chords, do give yourself regular breaks, because it provides a lot of tension on your left hand there. So if you're feeling yourself getting a little bit tense practicing, just do give yourself regular breaks. So here's bars 1 to 12. So moving on into the next section, we've got this third finger that's going to slide down into the shape that begins bar 13. And one of those things that you want to work on is just trying to make sure that when you ground that third finger on the second fret there, it can stay there nice and solidly for this next part, which involves a little bit of a stretch with your little finger doing a hammer as a little acciaccatura kind of grace note there. So you're kind of aiming for... And then when we move on into these next bars, you see these kind of quite quick little hammers using your second finger. And because they are these acciaccaturas, the rhythm, they're crushed into the same rhythm as the notes that they're attached to. And as a result, you want to make those really as quick as you can. Not kind of slow like this, but more of a kind of really snatched sound like... And from your right hand's perspective, one thing that I quite like to do is experiment with kind of like varying the tone there. So for example, if you're starting with this note on the third string sliding down, you can have that really nice and sweet sounding up by the neck. And then when you move into the hammers, you could bring the right hand down and give a slightly more bitey tone by the bridge. Technique, being able to have the freedom of your right hand to move quickly between the sweet sounds that you can get from the neck down to the more brittle tones you can get from the bridge. So do give that a try out yourself when you're practicing this. So here's bars 13 to 28. So next up we move into a repetition of the main theme from bars 29 into 48. And one of the things again you can think about here is how you might vary this in terms of dynamic and tone. There's also a couple of little variations to watch out for. One in bar 38 there's an extra hammer added in, and indeed in bar 40 there's a hammer, so just be careful of those additions. So one of them is around this D major 7 voicing. Just that second finger hammering on there. And then the other one in bar 40 is around that A major shape. Both of which involve just making sure that your half bar here is nice and strong, because that's what's going to give you the clean tone you need to get the hammer. Moving on to talk about how you can actually vary these dynamics and tone. One of the things to think about is, well, if you started the piece, quite softly, you could then, when this main theme repeats, build up the dynamic a little bit, give it a little bit more oomph. So you could really lay into that a little bit more. And again, if you've played the first theme, majority up here, for example, nice and sweet, why don't you come down here and try giving a little bit more of a different interpretation, coming back down to the bridge. So here we go, this is bars 29 through to 48. So moving on into bars 49 to 56, this section is acting as a bit of a bridge into the climactic section of the piece. So you can really try and aim to build a bit of crescendo into this, give it a sense of drama. And we have the main shape of this based around an E major chord, but with, again, the acciaccatura feature with the hammers with your second finger and little finger. The little finger is going to have to stretch all the way up to the 4th fret here, and that's a bit tricky. Don't worry if it's touching the 4th string as you do so, because that doesn't really matter too much. Have a look at this. So you should be able to kind of get that little finger up there with a bit of practice. But again, if you're finding yourself, getting any tension in your hand, do give yourself regular breaks. Regarding building, a sense of drama and really kind of trying to give it a bit of emphasis moving into the next section, again, you can increase the dynamic, you can change tone as you go. So you could start a little bit softer by the neck, build, and by the time you get to the open 1st and 2nd strings, it should be, getting towards a real strong dynamic, maybe around the forte kind of mark, leading into what will be the climactic section of the piece for the next. So here we have bars 49 and 56. So I hope you enjoyed that first part of the Nightwatchman. Have fun making it your own, and join us next week where we'll be going through the rest of it.